Today we are going to talk about the different ways that the tectonic plates are going to be moving. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you is my notebook, and you should be on this page, and it was given to you as a foldable, but I cut it out and just glued it in because I wasn't feeling it that day. Okay, oh, that's not the person's face I want to see. Hold on. There we go. All right. So, let's go ahead. I'm actually going to go back a page because I want to talk about our I can statements. Always start with that. What our purpose of this lesson is to describe the three types of tectonic plate boundaries. Here's your first question. What type of movement have we already talked about? Show me with arrows in the chat. What type of movement have we already talked about? Hi, Brody. About 10 people get on the 1:15 Zoom, but some of the people will flip-flop from one class to the other. Very good. Now, does anybody know what the name of that? Oh, Jubai's meeting. Interesting. That's good to know. Does anybody know the name of that movement? You guys all said that it's going to move away from each other.
Magnetic reversal.
No, you're just saying words that we learned yesterday. What is the name? Okay, so that's what we're going to learn about is, so we really don't know the names of those motions. So seafloor spreading is the action of this motion. It's kind of like the event. So today we're going to talk about the three different boundary types, okay? How they move, what they're called, and what it creates, okay? A lot about this is a creation versus like destruction. And so we're going to talk about those different things. So we're going to talk about plate tectonics if we look at our terms to know. The theory that explains how large pieces of the Earth's outermost layer, called tectonic plates, move and change shape. Okay? So here are three boundaries. A convergent boundary, which is formed by the collision of two lithospheric plates. A divergent boundary, the boundary between two tectonic plates that are moving away from each other. And then a transform boundary, the boundary between tectonic plates that are sliding past each other horizontally. So, seafloor spreading is which type of boundary? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Seafloor spreading, when they're moving away from each other, based on our terms to know right here, seafloor spreading is what type of boundary? Very good. It's going to be a divergent boundary, okay? So at all of the different tectonic plate boundaries, there's going to be three different kinds. It can either be a transform boundary when they're sliding past each other. It can be a convergent boundary when they're colliding towards each other, or divergent when they move away from each other. So seafloor spreading is going to be that divergent boundary. So today we're going to talk about our I can statement number 1. Describe the three types of tectonic plates, and we will be using these 4 terms to know for today, okay? And you guys already know one, you already know the divergent boundary, so you're all set. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm gonna switch my slide. Okay, so let's put the definition up at the top, where it says a boundary is a place where tectonic plates touch. Okay, I'm going to put that at the very top of my page. All right. Boundary is our word. Okay? A boundary is where tectonic plates touch. So in those three, we are going to start with this one. So looking at this, what is the name of this boundary type? If we look back at our terms to know, we have convergent, divergent, or transform. The first one that is shown is that a divergent, convergent, or transform. Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Very good. Thank you for those of you who are responding to my chats before you're writing your notes. I do appreciate it. Very good. So this is going to be a convergent boundary. Okay? And it is when two tectonic plates collide. Okay? Collide is that big word that we're going to be using a lot. Okay? Now, here's the thing, and we're going to learn about this a little bit later. There are three different types of convergent boundaries, and it all has to do with the crust. Okay? Remind me in the chat, what are the two different types of crust? What are the two different types of crust? Very good. So you guys are telling me that oceanic and continental are two types of crust. So at all the different boundaries, if we look at this picture here, if you look at the boundaries, some boundaries are right on land, some are in the ocean, some have both. So what we're going to have is three different combinations of convergent boundaries. One, we're going to have continental, then we're going to have continental, oceanic, and then we're going to have oceanic. And I'm sure you're going to believe this, but every single one of those collisions is going to act differently and create different experiences and create new landforms and stuff like that too. Okay? So then the second one down, this one we know, this one is going to be our divergent boundary. Awesome. And it says when two tectonic plates separate. What's a different word that we could use? I like how collide and convergent go together. Collide and convergent. What could I do with divergent? What's another word that I could use for that? Divergent does what? Nice. Think about something, what is that, an alliteration? Convergent, collide, convergent, collide. Divergent, what could I put there? Nice. Very good. So you guys are saying divide. And we will use that again later. Okay? We know that new seafloor forms at Divergent boundaries. And mid-ocean ridges are the most common example. And we have already talked about those. Ooh, good jam, good jam. Of course, I have my TV on. Mid-ocean ridges on beautiful. So those are our divergent boundaries. All right, gotta turn my jams down. Can't hear myself. All right, and then last but not least, go ahead and drop it in the chat. What is this one going to do? A transform boundary. That's not what I wanted, and I totally just gave you the answer. So the last one is called a transform boundary. Okay. See, I still make mistakes even when you guys aren't here. So let's go ahead and write that on there. Transform beautiful. Okay. And our notes say when two tectonic plates slide past each other. And go ahead and put this in the chat. What do transform boundaries produce? What do transform boundaries produce? Very good. What do transform boundaries produce? All right, beautiful. Very good. So these are going to create earthquakes. Okay. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you're ready to move on. All right, I'll give you another second. So what we're going to do on the other side is it's going to be more doodle notes and pictures. And we're kind of going to just revisit everything we just wrote and kind of going over it again, and I'll add some questions and stuff like that, okay? So I'm going to switch my color up since I realized I haven't been. So I'm going to use I used purple already. Let's see if these guys will show up, okay? So here's what I want us to talk about. First thing I want us to do is label what we have, okay? I'm going to switch over to this side. And in order, what are these three boundaries? In order, put those on the chat. In order, which are these three boundaries? It is not the same as the left side of your notebook. So we have 1, 2, and 3. I want you to put all of them at the exact, you can't press enter on Zoom. You just have to put commas. Oh, if they're upside down, I'm a little worried because you probably don't have any space underneath this guy. So Anthony, make sure you put your information on top. And you can just do yours backwards, Anthony. Very good, very good. Divergent, convergent, transform. Very good. So let's go ahead and start with that. And I am going to, first I'm going to outline my arrows. I made them light just so that you guys could outline them and actually interact with the page.
Mrs. Kennedy.
Yeah.
So I made my own arrows and they're the exact same colors you're using right now.
What? Man, that's meant to be. That's good stuff. That's so good. All right. So you guys told me that this first one was called Transform. Ooh, what is that? Mess that up. Transform boundary. All right. Second one down is convergent boundary. Ooh, it's a big guy. Very good, very good. Hi, Ethan. I'm not sure when you hopped on, but hello, I see you. Okay. And last but not least, we have transform boundary.
Miss Kennedy, you put transform on top.
Oh my gosh. Would you look at that? Thank you. Do I have whiteout? Pause. How come nobody said anything? I don't think I have any whiteout. All right. Goodness gracious. Okay, I have a solution. At least I got the word boundary right. See? There's a positive. Huzzah! Okay, so it should be divergent boundary. All right. Now we're good. Now we're cooking. So back to my other one, transform boundary. Yay. So if we were to, we had, what word describes the action of divergent boundary the most? That also starts with a D. What did we say? Divergent boundaries blank. Divergent blank. Very good. So we are going to write D-I-V-I-D E, divide. Right underneath that. Super important, divergent divides. You can just write it super normal if you want, but you know me. Okay? What word would go with convergent boundary? Convergent blank. Convergent blank. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Very good. Collide now. Yeah. Now, I will tell you the word for transform boundary does not start with a T, but it does rhyme with divide, collide, and then transform would do what? Slide. Very good. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Crisscross. All right. So now we have our words that describe the actions. So now I want to talk about what is created. Okay? So if we talk about divergent boundaries, what is the biggest or the most common example of a divergent boundary? Starts with an M. What is the most common example of a divergent boundary? Very good. So let's go ahead and put a mid-ocean ridge underneath this space, or if yours is upside down, it would be above it. Okay? And I like that we used blue. Okay? And what is a mid-ocean ridge? A submerged blank. Very good. So it does say mountain range in our textbook. And I'm thinking because it goes for so long. So we are just going to sketch some sort of mountain. And then we know that these go outward. In the magma rises. And what does that create? You tell me in the chat, what does a mid-ocean ridge create? If you need to flip back a page, please do so. Something new. Very good, Misha. Couple different ways to say it. That magma, when it solidifies, it's going to create new crust, new oceanic lithosphere, or new sea floor. Okay? I am going to put new sea floor because that is the most common description that will be used. Creates new C floor. Oh, fancy, huh? Okay. So divergent boundaries divide. Mid-ocean ridge is the most common example, and it creates new sea floor. Okay. All right. Let's talk about convergent. So we already talked about that convergent boundaries are going to collide. Let's go ahead and re-talk about the 3 types of convergent boundaries. Okay, we know it's going to be continental, then we're going to have continental, oceanic. Ooh, I should have made that blue. And then we're going to have oceanic. Okay. What do you think is created at a convergent boundary? Okay, and we're going to talk about 3 different things that are created from each of these. What do you think is created at a convergent boundary when we have these giant pieces of crust colliding at each other? They're going to buckle, collide, and it's going to create what? Something that is very noticeable on the Earth's surface. Couple different types of these. Very good, Dakota, Faith. You guys gave me specific examples. What is going to be created at a convergent boundary? I feel like you can't really see that. Very good. So my word that I was going to use was landforms. Landforms are created. So when we have a continental, you're going to get mountains. Okay. When you have continental oceanic, you are going to get a volcanic mountain range and a trench. So some of you brought in trench as well. And then when you have oceanic, you're going to get volcanic islands and a trench. Okay, we're going to talk about that in later lessons, but I do want to put landforms. So convergent boundaries create landforms. Boom. Okay. You guys are fabulous. We are almost done with our lesson. This has been a good doodle notes. Oh, Roy T. Then. Almost done. Can't help myself. So cute. Raise your hand if you think your page is really cute. Sweet. I've done my job. All right. So, creates landforms, and we're going to stop there with that one, okay? So then transform boundaries. What is it going to create? Okay? Transform boundaries are going to create what? Ooh, nice. You guys are already answering. What does a transform boundary create? As they slide past each other, sometimes getting stuck and then snapping. What is that outcome of transform boundaries. When they slide past you, they're almost getting stuck. Remember the friction we talked about when there's a lot of pressure? What's it going to create? Very good. It's going to create earthquakes. I'm going to do green and blue because it's the earth. Except I'm going to do it all weird because it's an earthquake. Cute. And then if you put these like little lines on it, it looks like it's like shaking or something. All right. Oh, I guess I should have put an S on that. Because earthquakes is a pillar. What up? Now, here's your exit question. And I love this because this is going to connect from a previous lesson. What does an earthquake release throughout the entire Earth that scientists can use? What do earthquakes release throughout the entire Earth that scientists can use? Look at you guys. Look at you guys. Put it in there. What do earthquakes produce after an earthquake happens? It sends this throughout the Earth in all directions. Very good. Danny, what are those vibrations called specifically? Ooh, Delaney is specific. Very good. So they release earthquakes, releases seismic waves. It's all coming back together. So transform boundaries, even though it's possible that earthquakes can be created at the other boundaries, they all kind of have their major creation, their major purpose, and like what they contribute. So, and you think earthquakes contributing, it does a lot of damage for us, but it gives scientists different pieces of information. It's let us figure out what the inside of the earth looks like. Okay? So we know that we have seismic waves. Kind of looks like it's going in all directions, everywhere. Okay? So those are our different types of boundaries. You guys are absolute rock stars. You did a great job today. Make sure you either answered the question that I just asked about seismic waves. So I said, what do earthquakes release? If you didn't answer that, you need to make sure that you had put your name at the beginning of class. Okay, so I have your first and last name so I could take attendance. I think what I'm going to do is those of you who joined me on a consistent basis when you guys come check in, I think I'm going to have a little gift for you, okay, because you're rock stars. You kept me going, kept each other going. We wouldn't be able to have discussions if we didn't have this. So I really appreciate you guys investing in your education, taking this seriously, even though I know it probably stinks to have to get on and talk to a teacher when you're at home and you just want to take a nap. It's okay. All right. Other than that, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about your assignments from yesterday, today, anything for this week? Everyone's good?
So on Friday, were there any assignments?
Nope. Nothing. I gave you guys the day. Okay? Nothing missed. Other than that, you guys are free to go. Make sure you do your review questions on Canvas and keep up with it. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.